Hello and welcome to the Thursday Total Soccer Show. I am Daryl Grove and I'm joined by the man who is the first owner player in soccer podcast history. It's Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello, I didn't realize I own our team. That's exciting to know.
Well, you co-own this podcast with me.
Oh, okay. But now the team, I was ready for all of my my many millions to come rolling in from our 7th Division amateur team.
That's the long-term business plan, right? Long-term business
Is it?
plan. Yeah.
All right, it's good to know.
So yeah, if you don't know, Didier Drogba has been announced as player owner of Phoenix FC? Phoenix Rising FC?
Phoenix Rising FC, yes.
Oh,
He is
right.
So the reports that I saw yesterday indicated that he was the first ever or only player owner. There have since been some people claiming that Juan Sebastian Verón would also qualify because I think he owns a very minority stake in whichever club he currently plays for.
Okay,
so some contention there, who knows? But regardless, Didier Drogba is now a USL player.
Wow. All right. USL Western Conference, right? So we won't see him here in Richmond, but you may see him on the West Coast. For more details on that story, listen to this morning's Goalmouth podcast. It's our other podcast. If there's any news that you miss on the Total Soccer Show, you're like, hey, why didn't those guys talk about that on that show?
Yep.
It's because it's on our other show.
It is.
So find Goalmouth in iTunes or whatever else you use to listen to podcasts.
Well done.
All right, today's show.
Wait, who hosted that one? Because I heard they did a really good job and made hilarious jokes.
Oh, I heard it differently and I heard it was you.
Oh, okay.
Good Shakespeare puns. Good Shakespeare puns.
Thanks.
So we're going to talk today Champions League. We're going to talk Atletico's 1-0 win over Leicester at the Calderón and Real Madrid's 2-1 win over Bayern at the Allianz, which is a German stadium. They won away from home.
Yeah, kind of shocking. We're also going to talk about which of the 4 teams that lost in the first leg of the Champions League has the best chance, basically, to rebound in that second leg. That segment is going to be brought to you by Fucci.
Fucci Rebounders. So find out who people on Twitter thought would be best placed to rebound. Should we start with Atletico's 1-0 win over Leicester? I want you to say yes because I am excited because we got our predictions right, Taylor.
Both did.
We both got our predictions right.
This is what happens when we both navigate towards the obvious prediction, I'd say.
Okay, so before we get into this, what was your prediction for this game?
My prediction,
specific prediction.
Really quick background was just that Wes Morgan was going to be out. I was concerned about that defense, concerned about the defense in Europe. So my prediction was that Leicester would concede a penalty, likely for a foul on Antoine Griezmann. That is exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened, right? My prediction was that Antoine Griezmann would be too fast for Leicester's defenders, and that would cause a goal. So we were both right.
If anything,
I feel like you were more right, but I'm still claiming it.
I would say I was more right, although we were both right. I would say I was more right only in the sense that if Antoine Griezmann had just been a little bit faster, then maybe he wouldn't have been fouled by Mark Albrighton. So maybe he was just slow enough for the Leicester defense. That said, Albrighton did sprint, I think, over 100 yards to catch him.
He did, and from the other side of the field, all that long way to foul him.
Yes, but either way, prediction point each. Well done, Mr. Grove.
All right. And so for those who don't know, it was a penalty kick. Griezmann stepped up and scored it, as you should. I think if you're fouled, you should take the kick. It finished 1-0 to Atletico because they do what Leicester do, but they do it better. So the first point of contention here is that foul by Albrighton on Griezmann occurred outside the box. This should have been a free kick.
It should have been.
Yeah.
And it's especially surprising given that the referee, even though it comes from a Leicester City throw-in on the other side of the field, the referee tracks the plays in very good position, not very far away, should have gotten this right. And that's where I think Craig Shakespeare, the Leicester City boss, commented that he felt like maybe this was a guess by the ref, that he wasn't sure one way or the other.
Oh, really?
Well, he implied it. I think the quote was something along the lines of, again, it's in Goalmouth from today, that's why I know this. He said something on the lines of, like,
you shouldn't decide this on a guess.
He's got to get that right. It can't be a guess. You've got to be certain. Yes, it was a foul, but it was definitely outside the box.
Right. So you think, normally it's like... normally like tie goes to the runner kind of thing is you give it to the defending team. If you're really 50-50 not sure, you don't give the harshest possible penalty, right?
Yeah, and in this situation, it's pretty clear that contact does occur outside the box. The momentum, obviously, of Antoine Griezmann carries him into the box. That's why he lands there. That's why the penalty is given. But it's pretty obvious that the contact is outside.
Yeah.
That said, it's pretty obvious to me, having watched 4 different replays, and so not seeing it live, it probably makes a difference.
Okay, yeah. No fault on Albrighton then, because it was a foul, but he managed to foul him outside the box, which is kind of where you're going to do it if you're going to do it. He'd also made a huge effort to sort of get back. If anything, for me, this goal is on 2 things. It's on Leicester's faith in long throws, which I'm not a fan of long throws.
I know you're not.
And it's on Danny Simpson, the right back, his decision to step to Koke. Koke is the player who puts the ball down the line for Griezmann to chase.
I would take Dolores Umbridge with one point there, which is I don't really have a problem with long throws because I think it is a weapon if utilized properly. Yeah. And that is the key point there. That more often than not, I think people just think we have a long throw, everybody get in the box, and there's not much organization. And I think that's what happened here, is that ball comes in from Robert Huth, and it's
from Fuchs. Sorry, Christian Fuchs has the long
he's
throw.
He's aiming for Robert Huth.
Robert Huth has gone forward. That's the key part of this, right? Because normally Leicester's game is based on compact 4-4-2, don't get stretched out. But because they've got faith in the long throw, they've sent a centre-back forward. They've ruined their nice tight formation. I mean, left themselves open to a counter-attack.
See, I think that you're being a little bit unfair there, because if that ball was 2 yards further down the field, then it's a corner kick, and you send both your center backs forward. That's what conventional teams do.
Okay.
So I think in this situation, it makes sense, but this is where I feel like what happens, though, is people, at least with a corner, okay, these two people are going to drop, we're going to put this person here. We know how to kind of defend because you are...
shape,
because you are... can be vulnerable to counterattacks. I think with long throws, though, sometimes it can be, let's get bodies in the box, let's all crash and try to make something happen. And I think that's what happens here. That ball is basically flick cleared, is what I'm going to call, by Savic.
Yeah.
It goes out wide.
He beats Huth in the air, right? He gets up.
And then this is where the problem is that Danny Simpson, who is sitting back, I think is in that kind of reserve shutdown position, thinks he can beat Koke to the ball, which is a very stupid decision because Koke is about 5 to 10 yards away, and Simpson is about 20 yards away.
Yeah,
and so Simpson overcommits, and he leaves space. That's exactly where Antoine Griezmann runs. Koke has a great outside of the foot pass and into space for Antoine Griezmann. If Danny Simpson stays where he is and stays home, then there's no play.
You can't play that ball to Griezmann, right? Because Danny Simpson would be in the way. If you haven't seen the build-up to this goal, I would recommend watching it just for that outside of the foot pass from Koke. Because I think it goes between Simpson and Drinkwater. Like it beats two Leicester players and puts Griezmann away.
Yes.
Griezmann, as I'm going to pronounce it.
Right. And so I just think, to bring it all home, that I think if that's a corner kick, Danny Simpson says, I'm not going to get to that. I'm going to stay home a little bit. But just because it is the chaos of that long throw, I think everyone is a little bit up for it. Everyone is maybe a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah.
That's why you abdicate space, and Antoine Griezmann is more than happy to take it. The other thing I wanted to say with that long throw is just a quick point. It's that the man who is closest to Fuchs when that throw comes in is Mark Albrighton. He is on the far side of the field. So he runs diagonal from one corner of the box to the other box corner, and then concedes that free kick. Or should have been a free kick. In actuality, it's a penalty.
All right, so that second leg, I think, is going to be kind of interesting in that Leicester will be at home. Leicester will be on the sort of, especially when I think of like Premier League winning Leicester, they're never in the position that they have to score, right? So I've never often seen Leicester under pressure to score, and therefore they're open to getting stretched.
You mean aside from the return leg against Sevilla, right?
Oh, yes. Okay.
The last Champions League game they played before this.
That worked out.
Yeah, because came out of that game, the first leg 1-0 down, I believe. Came into this one and came with a return, I guess, and got a 2-0 victory. So, stranger things have happened.
I guess they have. Right, so we'll be watching that second leg.
Yep.
We'll also be watching the second leg of Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid. So at the Allianz, Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid. Bayern go up 1-0 through a great Vidal header. We'll talk about how he managed to get in that spot. The answer is Nacho.
Yep.
Then Vidal misses a penalty kick just before half-time. Then Ronaldo scores the equaliser just after half-time and scores the winner later in the game. It finishes 2-1 to Real Madrid. There's also a Javi Martinez red card in there. I don't know where to start with this. Do you want to start with maybe the way Vidal attacks this corner?
Yeah, I think so, because that corner, it is the goal, but it's, I think, the third.
First goal, right?
Yeah, but I think it's the third time in that half that it had been a Nacho, Arturo Vidal kind of like square up standoff.
Yep.
And Nacho lost every single one.
Yep. It was a mismatch in strength and cunning and guile and I almost want to say intelligence because I think Vidal just outsmarts him every single time to get himself free at the back post.
Bayern get a corner in the first 2 minutes and I want to keep on to say Sanchez, different Chilean. Arturo Vidal.
Is this because I spent the game telling you how Alexis Sanchez should sign for Bayern? That
really
would be
is,
a great signing.
because now I'm obsessed with that idea.
Yeah.
But it's
Sorry, Arsenal fans.
But it's basically Arturo Vidal checks 2, checks away, and then checks 2 again, and that just kind of double move completely throws Nacho.
Yeah, like he's never seen it.
Yeah, so I think he ends up winning the head.
What sorcery is this?
He ends up. I was wrong. There's one more in there. He checks 2, checks away, checks 2, and then checks away because he actually doesn't win the corner with his head. He wins it with his shoulder and puts that on frame. But even then, he's just been able to create separation. So you fast forward to that goal. And it is interesting here because, once again, there's a little bit of grappling. It ends up with Arturo Vidal basically wide open to win that header.
Yeah.
But when that grappling first occurs, I can't tell, but I think the referee is right there, maybe 5 yards away from them, and you can see him point, and that's when Nacho drops his hands.
Yes.
Or right around that time is when Nacho drops his hands.
He definitely warns them, right? He's like, hey, no more touching.
And
no
touching. No touching. No touching. Arrested Development.
You have to call it out. I was wanting to be a subtle reference.
Well, I think it's only because
certain people got.
We already talked about I've made a huge mistake already today. You and I have. So I think in reference to Nacho, actually it could be. So double references there. But I think so he drops his arms and is like, okay, I don't want to have done anything wrong.
Yeah.
And when he does that, Vidal is immediately away. Nacho is late to react.
Yep.
And Vidal puts that header in the back of the net.
It's about reaction, right? I think Vidal just adapts to the new situation is no touching. So Vidal just reacts to that by, okay, I'll run away from him and then run towards goal and I've lost him, right? Whereas Nacho's like, oh, okay, I don't have to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. Oh. Yep. It's all too late.
And then
1-0 to Bayern Munich.
And do you think, much like Michael and the Warden, they went at halftime and Zinedine Zidane said to Nacho, more touching? I think so. Because he doesn't score in the second half.
That's true.
But before that second half happens, there is that missed penalty.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, because I've given my opinion on long throws, so I want to hear your opinion on this penalty. Do you think it should have been a penalty, or do you think Danny Carvajal was hard done by?
Oh, this is the handball. I was actually going through the files in my head trying to remember this.
There are many from this game.
Absolutely not. It hits him in the shoulder, the same way that it kind of hits Vidal in the shoulder when he has the attacking one, right?
Yeah.
So this is a shot from Ribéry, right?
Yeah.
Top of the box after he's twisted and turned.
I think three different fakes?
Yeah, it's a really good few moves from Ribéry. He shoots. Carvajal's arms are up, and if it had hit him in the arm, it would have been like that unnatural position. Yep. You're blocking the path to the goal. Definitely a penalty kick. Carvajal, who actually had a brilliant game, right? We'll talk about him in the second half especially, deliberately puts his hands behind his back so that they can't hit, right? And then it hits like his upper shoulder.
Yeah.
He does everything right here. He's a model citizen, model defender, absolutely unjustly called a penalty kick.
I think it's just maybe one of those incidents where maybe the referee doesn't see it that cleanly. It kind of maybe looks like it could be that simultaneous forearm-shoulder connection. And then I think it is
the
also...
the initial position is arms out.
Exactly.
And he just assumes, I think, that Carvajal's not as good at getting his arms behind his back as
Yeah,
he, you know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah.
No one's reactions are that quick, thought the referee.
But then that makes you wonder if the old Rasheed Wallace adage is accurate here, which is ball don't lie, because Vidal steps up and buries that ball into the. I'm not going to say row Z. I'm going to say row Y.
Yeah.
He hits it well over the goal.
I'm going to say it ended up in Norway, and that is a Goalmouth callback joke, and you won't get it unless you listen to this morning's Goalmouth.
I think we're covering every single story in Goalmouth today. Well done, us. So, as I said in Goalmouth, Vidal probably ruined that because they go in at halftime 1-0 down, but then this game finishes 2-1 to Real Madrid.
It certainly does. And I'm going to give you the sort of potted history of the second half, which is... Ronaldo scores early, and it's kind of against the run of play. But it's the red card to Martinez that really changes everything.
It is, except I want to give you credit for spotting something, because I do think he looks around the room.
I thought you talked to someone else.
No, I think you did a very good job of pointing something out that I think was a problem for Real that I have to believe Zinedine Zidane dealt with at halftime, which is that we kept seeing, because my prediction for this game was that Casemiro would be like at fault for a goal, but it wouldn't be obvious that he would get sucked out or pulled into a position where he wasn't supposed to be, and that would free up space for other players.
Because the key is he's the defensive midfielder, and if you can get him out of shape, then you've got a hole you can work in, right?
And that did happen fairly often, or not fairly often, but there were a number of occasions when he does get sucked out into the left-hand side. So too does Toni Kroos.
The corner that led to the corner that led to the goal is one of these, yeah?
It is, and I'm not trying to claim that as a prediction point, but I am trying to point out your point, which I think was accurate, which is that it's because Cristiano Ronaldo in that first half was not tracking back.
Yes.
He wasn't doing much defensive work, so there was always a man free on that far side for Bayern Munich.
Yeah, okay, so if you didn't see this game or if you didn't pay attention to the formation, Real play essentially a 4-3-3, right? Benzema is the centre forward, Ronaldo on the left, Bale on the right, and then three central midfielders, right? When Real are defending, especially when a team like Bayern Munich have the ball, Bale, the right winger, essentially drops into like a defensive right midfield position, right? Then you've got Modric, Kroos, and Casemiro. You don't have Ronaldo drop in on the left side as much.
Right.
He kind of half does it sometimes, but mostly everybody else has to cover that space for Cristiano Ronaldo, which means Toni Kroos has to jog a bit to the left, which means Casemiro gets pulled out a bit to the left, and they essentially make up for Ronaldo's absence, which I think is half instruction, like get the most out of Ronaldo attacking-wise, but also some of it is on Ronaldo to maybe recognise when your team's in trouble.
Right, and I think you can juxtapose that with the second half where there's it might have been right before the first goal, or it might have been right after the first goal, where Ronaldo not only drops back, but it's kind of orchestrating the defense.
He's at least pointing at people and talking. I can't tell what he's saying.
And he blocks off that cut inside from Arjen Robben.
Yes. Oh, so there was a quote earlier this week of Arjen Robben saying, I mean, I keep cutting inside with my left and shooting, and nobody seems to be able to stop it, and it works. I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I think we saw in the second half especially, Real Madrid figure out how to stop Robin coming in from the right on his left foot.
Right.
And the answer is just volume of bodies.
Yeah, I mean, and it works because there's no cut-in goals from Ryan Robin, so that's always a good thing.
Because he cuts in, and he finds another defender, so he cuts a bit farther in, and there's another defender, and there's no way to go. There's no way to go.
So I think that tactical change, I'm going to assume that was an adjustment.
Just to tell Ronaldo, hey, just do a bit more defensive work on the left.
I think that was key. And then I also just have to believe that when you score, 2 or 3 minutes, if that, into the second half, it's always going to throw the opponent off. And it felt like after that equalizer from Madrid, Bayern never really settled down again.
True.
And then it's exacerbated by the red card in the 61st minute. Yeah. After that, of course, you're always going to be having to sit back, having to be reactive. You have to make a change because it's your center back who's gone off, so you have to bring somebody else on to play defense, and that kind of changes the entire flow of the game if you're Bayern Munich.
Agree. I mean, do we have much to say about that first goal then that caused so much? It caused basically a change in momentum in the game.
Yeah.
I know it's a Carvajal cross. Ronaldo comes across and meets it. It's like a side-footed volley. Yeah. It's really nice. It beats Manuel Neuer. I'm not sure we have much to say beyond that.
The only thing I can say about that goal and the second goal as well is it's really interesting to see where Karim Benzema and Cristiano Ronaldo are in relation to when that ball comes in, because on both goals they either start or end up very close to each other.
Yeah.
And I have to believe that's another intentional tactic designed to, if you're a defender and you turn around and suddenly you've got Ronaldo and Benzema running at you at full speed, you're going to be a little bit nervous. And
it's
even
if you go down the hallway in the Shining Hotel and you see the two twins.
Sure. I'm not sure which one is more terrifying. I think probably the twins, because, come on, those dresses are creepy. Also, elevators full of blood. So, combine those. But in this situation, if you're Javi Martinez, for example, who's the one who is, I think, nominally tracking Cristiano Ronaldo on this run into the box.
For the first goal this is,
He starts tracking back because Dani Carvajal has gotten the ball in space. He looks behind him. He sees Cristiano Ronaldo running at full speed and thinks, oh, he's definitely trying to get to that near post. I need to make sure I cover there first. So he no longer tracks Ronaldo. He just kind of continues his run.
He thinks he's tracking Ronaldo,
exactly,
right?
He's
tracking imaginary Ronaldo.
But he thinks he's cutting off space. He thinks he's doing the right thing. And I think it's because, oh no, I don't want to get beat by Ronaldo. I need to make sure I'm in the right spot. And then you stop paying attention to where Ronaldo actually is, which is that now he's cut that run off and come back across the penalty area, and that's why he's finished.
He's just bent his run a little bit sort of back to the right, and suddenly he has loads of space. He has enough space to meet that ball coming in with an open foot and put it past Neuer.
Yeah, and then even on the second goal, which comes about, I think, 77th minute, I believe it is. It's another Ronaldo goal. In that situation, again, it is Bayern Munich being a man down, so we went back and watched. Yeah. Well, we watched the whole game, then we went back and watched this goal again.
Maybe we'll talk about what Bayern did with 10 men after we talk about this goal.
Sure.
Yeah.
But what they did was not be able to shut down every single Real Madrid player, because in the lead up to this one, it's basically every Madrid player who gets the ball is wide open.
Yeah.
It's never like there's sort of everybody's kind of marked off. It really is. Even Asensio, who plays that ball in for Ronaldo, he gets the ball 20 yards from goal. He has 5 yards of space on either side of him.
He has more time and space than Doctor Who.
Sure. I've never seen Doctor Who, so I apologize. But that seems like a good reference, so why not?
Why not?
But he's able to turn, pick his head up, see Ronaldo making that run, put his head back down, play the ball into the box. And again, Karim Benzema is in the same space as Ronaldo. It's another distraction. I think if you're not marking one, then you have to worry about the other. If you're worried about that one, then you're not marking the other. And I think it can definitely be a bit of an overload for defenders.
So they kind of cross over as well, so it confuses. It's Alaba playing centre-back at that point, and is it Bernat or Benatia? Number 18.
It's Alaba and Boateng are your two center backs,
and the left back is
Juan Bernat.
Okay. He, I think, after Ronaldo comes across, sees it too late. They should have switched, right? And Bernat is too slow to react to having to mark Ronaldo.
Yes.
Ronaldo knows it as well. Gets his muscly, but we've seen enough of Ronaldo's body to know it's muscly, right? Gets his muscly body in the way of Bernat, so he can never get around him to get defensive side.
Yeah. But it's
2-1 Real Madrid,
and it's very big goals for Ronaldo, just because there had been some rumors that he was on the outs, that players were frustrated with him. It was the first Champions League goal he had scored in 7 months, which is a rarity for him. So I think to get his name on the score sheet, to get his name on the score sheet twice, and be the one to do so at the Allianz Arena, I think that's probably going to be a very big thing for him as we head into the final stretch of the season.
Okay, so we just talk tactically then about what happened with the Javi Martinez. Not so much how he got the cards, but what happened afterwards. He got the cards for he got the cards for 2 fouls, right? One was pulling back. I can't remember who he pulled back. Ronaldo. And the second one was on the counter, sort of Ronaldo twists him, turns him, and Martinez just goes for a silly, silly tackle.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's essentially he's trying to win the ball, but more likely I think he realizes Ronaldo's kind of beat me, and he could be in on goal because I'm very far forward, so I'm going to leave my leg up a little bit and just be okay with catching him. Not saying he was intentionally trying to catch him, but just saying that I think he left that leg there,
everything was stopped
which
there,
I would say makes it a professional foul, which makes it a yellow card. Either way, I have no problem with either one of those cards.
No, so Martinez off, Bayern down to 10 men. And then, I think you said this as we were watching, once you're down to 10 men, and it's the 61st minute, because these 2 yellow cards came in really quick succession.
Decisions.
You have to decide, are we going to keep doing what we're doing, maybe try and get a second goal because we're at home, or are we going to say, all right, we got 10 men, we're playing the Real Madrid team with the BBC and all that, let's maybe sit back and try and just preserve this 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
And I would say that Bayern make 2 decisions. I think Thomas Müller, who is up top because Lewandowski's out, is sort of telling everybody to come press and come chase and come close Real Madrid down. The rest of the team are just sitting off in 2 banks of 4. There's a massive gap in between. You've got 2 sets of players doing 2 different things.
Yeah, and
one set of players is just Thomas Müller, but
I kind of understand why you're in 2 headspaces there. Yeah, true. And maybe Arjen Robben to some extent at times.
Yes, yeah.
But I understand why there's maybe a little bit of confusion, because I would say normally if it's a full strength Real Madrid and you're a man down, and it's 1-1, maybe you just kind of pack it in and say, look, we can try to make something happen. The pressure will maybe be on them. It's at their home ground.
Yeah.
So maybe we can go there and get a result. The only wrinkle I would say is that in between the first yellow card for Martinez and the second yellow card for Martinez, Gareth Bale subs off with injury.
Yes.
And so maybe there's an element of Gareth Bale's not there anymore, and he is the most likely one to hurt us on a counterattack. So maybe
he's the fastest player on that team.
So maybe we can press forward a little bit more. And I think maybe, just maybe, that's why they're of 2 minds there. That's why you start to see 1 and 2 players push and try to make something happen and put pressure on that back line, and everybody else stays back. And so you start to have kind of gaps form as a result.
And we definitely saw Thomas Müller waving his teammates forward, like, come help me close these guys down. And we're not talking like a Jurgen Klopp go all out, like a Havoc type press. We're just talking about more like, maybe don't just sit on each other's toes at the edge of the penalty area and invite Real Madrid to come forward with the ball and just hope you can survive 30 minutes of doing that. Because you can't. You can't.
Even with Manuel Neuer, who had a few different plays in this game that were pretty ridiculous.
I don't even know which one to start with. Okay, there's one in the first half. I think it's the header.
From Benzema.
Yeah, that you can't... First of all, it just looks like he's hit the bar, right? Then you see the replay, you see Neuer's managed to tip it onto the bar and then catch it after it comes down, which is the most impressive thing to me. That thing of just constantly being aware, even after you've been full stretch. But the best one is it a Ronaldo shot or a Benzema shot?
Ronaldo.
When he forearms it. He just stands up and just like pokes his forearm at the ball. I don't know what his forearms are made of.
I have no idea. Yeah, adamantium, I think. Just keep the references going. Because, I mean,
if he was really Wolverine, he would have not been injured for the Dortmund game. He would have healed faster.
Good point. But it's, I mean, I take your point, though, because his arm doesn't go back. That's what blows my mind. I mean, it's a Ronaldo shot from inside the 18, and he gets full power behind it. And that Neuer is reacting quickly to it, but just manages to just, like, put the arm up and block it, and then the arm doesn't go back. You don't see any give. It's just like, no. It's a very good rejection.
It's the visual version of no.
Yeah, it is. So there's that save. There's another save on Ronaldo where he's at like a full stretch to push it wide for a corner. There's the Bale header that Bale cannot believe he doesn't score.
You see his face afterwards.
Yeah. So, I mean, it easily could have been 3, 4, 5 more goals for Madrid if it weren't for Manuel Neuer standing on his head.
Yep.
That said, it is kind of harsh that the ending goal, the winning goal for Real Madrid, does kind of go between his legs. But as we said, there's a lot of extenuating circumstances. It is Ronaldo meeting a cross at full speed, putting that ball on frame. It's always going to be difficult to save.
Oh, okay. So 2-1 to Real Madrid at Bayern Munich. The second legs are next week, Taylor. The second legs are next week. Obviously, we'll be watching and reviewing those games. But first, we should let you know, today's sponsor is Fucci. Futchi, makers of the Fucci Rebounder. If people are not familiar, it's soccer meets squash.
It is.
You put the net up, you play the ball against it, the ball lands back in the court, your teammate takes another go at it, and you go back and forth until a champion is crowned.
And can I say Fucci for you English accented people out there? You are not one of them, but our buddy Pav, who's been on the show, was excited to play some Fucci. And I was like, you want to play footy? Is that what you're saying to me? Because we were talking about hanging out this weekend.
Is it because of how I said it or just because of how he reads it?
I don't know. It's just Pav. But either way, it took me a while to figure out that he wanted to play Fucci. And I can understand why, because it's a good weekend game, especially with the weather we've got. Set it up in the backyard. Takes like 10 minutes, and then you're good to go. Play some soccer.
The back garden?
Or the back garden, if you prefer to play on top of your flowers.
You could do that.
You could.
That would be the prettiest Fucci
Your parents would be mad. Your parents would be mad.
For today's sponsored episode, we put up a Twitter poll because Fucci is a rebounder. We wanted to know which Champions League team which lost the first leg has the best chance of bouncing back in the second leg. See what we did there? The results are in, Taylor. Have you seen them?
I have.
Okay, so with 5%, Barcelona.
Yeah.
Tied on 18%, the team people think will bounce back in the second leg, Bayern and Leicester. With 59%, Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, and a couple things here.
Okay.
Number one, I think if you forced me to, I could probably argue for every single one of those teams as being likely to bounce back. But I don't have to, because I am going to stick with Dortmund. And I do think that there's an element there of maybe some people want Dortmund to bounce back, and that's why they've chosen Dortmund. And I think some people want Dortmund to bounce back because Christian Pulisic and everybody wants him to advance. And I also think because of the situation happened earlier this week with the bus bombing, with the fact that they were made to play about 24 hours after that had taken place. Yeah,
so we sort of touched on this when we did our preview. We sort of introduced the review of the Dortmund-Monaco game. Dortmund lost 3-2 at home. We talked about how it was a very short turnaround, and Nuri Sahin was saying, I wasn't really thinking about football. But it seems even more information has come out. Thomas Tuchel, the Dortmund coach, says basically we weren't given a choice. UEFA just said, "Hey, you're playing this game tomorrow."
Yeah, and
it doesn't matter. You were just in a terrorist explosion. You're playing this game tomorrow.
And I think two things. One is, to your credit, I think you brought this up as should they have played this game? It seems a little bit strange to me. And at the time, I was of the mind of you've got fixture congestion. It's a nightmare to get people back. And I think I was just sort of not really looking at the situation as a whole. And I appreciated that Jim Brochar, I think it was Jim Brochar on Twitter, kind of laid that out for me, that he had the exact same thought process, and it helped me to better understand mine, which is that in that moment it's sort of hard to put yourself in that situation. It's Marc Bartra had, the glass broke, he's got cuts in his arms, he's got a broken arm, he needs surgery, but that doesn't seem as huge as it obviously was psychologically for that team.
It's a near-death experience for the whole team.
And so then you read stuff about how police found shrapnel in the headrests of the bus that people
that could have been someone's
people
head.
Easily could have died.
Yeah.
And to then think about it from that perspective and realize that these people were essentially the victims of not essentially, they were the victims of a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
And then you're expecting them to go on with business as usual. It's a bit ridiculous.
And in hindsight, I feel like UEFA should have given Dortmund a choice, right? And they made the press release or whatever it was they put out sounded everyone's agreed we should play the game tomorrow. Yeah. But now it sounds like, from what Thomas Tuchel said, we were told this game's happening tomorrow.
Yeah. And so I stand by that. It was a very heartwarming thing to see all the fans coming together, and Dortmund fans opening up their homes and having dinner and sharing bottles of wine with Monaco fans.
To double down on that, I'm often of the mind that after a terrorism event, it's kind of the best thing is business as usual. Just show that we're not scared, we're not living in fear. We get back to what we do. You know what I mean? So there's an argument for the game going ahead quickly because of that.
Yeah. There is, but I think, to your point, the Nuri Sahin quote, where he essentially was I did not think about soccer until I was on the field playing in the second half. He's a second half sub. He'd come on at halftime. And I think, just that speaks to where he was emotionally, that I'm pretty sure that entire first half, he's okay, there's soccer going on, but also, wow, that happened.
Wow, that
happened, And so I think with that, to bring it all back, I will say I can see then why people expect Dortmund to respond, even though they conceded the most goals at home, even though that means they have to win by at least a 2-0 scoreline, or 3-1, I guess would do it as well.
Because just mathematically then, taking this back to soccer, Barcelona lost 3-0, so they are the least likely to bounce back. Right. But on the other hand, they're Barcelona and they did that thing to PSG, so there's that, right? Bayern only lost 2-1, Leicester only lost 1-0, Borussia Dortmund conceded 3 goals at home. Yes. They have 3 away goals against them.
Yes.
Yeah, so it is a really tough ask.
Yes, it is. But I can see how people could think that maybe they respond, they're able to kind of mentally deal with it. They come back fit and angry and ready to go, and I could see them really taking it to Monaco. That said, as we mentioned on the show, Monaco have players returning from injury. It's going to be a tough game for Dortmund, but I'm definitely excited to watch that game.
Okay, so the second leg games are Tuesday and Wednesday next week, or Tuesday and Wednesday next week, depending on whether I'm going American or English pronunciation. Okay. A reminder, this segment has been sponsored by Fucci Rebounders. You can go to playfucci.com, playfutchi.com. We'll also put a link in the show notes that takes you directly to the product page where you can take a look at the Fucci Rebounder. And we have a discount code for you. It is TSS 2017. That gets you the biggest possible discount on a Fucci rebounder. If you're going to buy one, buy it through us. We'll get you the best possible deal.
We also still have our YouTube videos up of Daryl and I playing it, showing you what to do, what not to do, how to set it up, all that good stuff.
There's literally a video titled How Not to Play Fucci, which is all our mistakes combined into one video.
And you can see just how good of actors we are. The answer... Not very. It's so... I watched it again maybe a couple weeks ago, and it's so overly dramatic of cursing the heavens as we hit the ball over.
You got to sell it. You got to really sell it.
Apparently. I like to think that we're the worst people in Hollywood who are they're not going to get it, though. We got to go over the top to make sure people understand that you want to put it on frame and not kick it way over the goal. How do we do it?
But yeah, I'll also put a link. I'll put a link to all our YouTube videos in the show notes so people can take a look. If they haven't seen it, you see Fucci in action, see us in action.
I'm always happy to hear you promise to put things in the show notes when you're the one who's editing.
The link again is playfucci.com. The discount code is TSS2017. Mm-hmm. Thank you to Fucci for sponsoring today's episode. They're longtime sponsors, and we love you.
Yes. Mwah. And thank you to Daryl Grove for also promising to put in clips of everything we've mentioned, linking to those in the show notes as well. Really nice of you, Daryl. I appreciate that.
If I can find them, I'll put them in.
Ooh, okay. Well, let's move swiftly on to a thing that we can definitely handle, and that's the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reports today.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, if you've never heard of the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network, this is how we support the show. Listeners, subscribe to the show. When you do, we give you a young player to keep an eye on, and we ask you to send us little updates, just how they're doing, so we can keep track of all the promising young players out there.
Indeed.
Who are we talking about first today, Taylor?
Up first, we've got Josh Dollar scouting Blake Bodley, the 19-year-old American midfielder for Portland Timbers 2.
Okay.
Blake has been a pretty consistent starter at left midfield for T2.
That's what they call it.
Apparently, Terminator 2. Unfortunately, he hasn't scored or really helped the team score, so there hasn't been a judgment day yet. They've had a horrible start to the season. They've gone 0-4-0 so far. The better news, though, is that Bodley will officially be playing for the Washington Huskies next year, so Josh is hoping that Blake can help turn things around for T2 before heading off to college.
He has all the signs of a player who maybe goes to college for 1 year and then comes back.
Yes.
Yeah, in a good way.
He does.
In a good way, I mean, not in a dropout kind of way.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
All right, up next, James Jones is scouting Andrew Carlton, TSS favourite.
A player who will never go to college until he's 38, would be my guess.
Unless he Giorgio Chiellini, is it? Right?
Yeah, that could be.
16-year-old midfielder for Atlanta United and US U17 national team player. James says, Carlton has been in the squad or on the bench for some of Atlanta's games this season, but has not yet made his MLS debut. James thinks there's a chance the club is waiting until Atlanta's next home game, as they are in the middle of 4 straight road games. In addition, James thought Carlton might get some time this weekend since Yamil Assad is suspended. Oh yeah, we talked about that, right? But the youngster instead tweeted that he is currently in camp with the US Under-17s, getting ready for their upcoming World Cup qualifiers. This is the problem with being in the US U17 team or the U20 team, is that when you're sort of challenging for minutes at your MLS team, you get pulled away to camp.
Yeah,
right? Eric Palmer-Brown could have been challenging for Sporting KC minutes, but he was busy playing for the U20s.
And at this point, I mean, Andrew Carlton's been around. He's pretty old. So, I don't know if he's going to have time to really make it.
Oh, and a reminder, those U17 qualifiers.
He's 16, just to remind you.
Those U17 qualifiers, US are in Mexico's group. There's going to be a big, big game in U17 qualifiers. We have to cover that. Yeah,
I think we probably will.
Okay.
Up next, we've got Daniel Jones scouting Cody Cropper, the 24-year-old American goalkeeper for the New England Revolution.
Hey.
Cropper kept a clean sheet against a Houston squad that had netted at least 2 in each of their previous games. He made 2 big saves in that game. He came off his line to close down a breakaway and then made an excellent reaction save at his near post. Daniel likes his decisiveness and writes that, given how the U.S. men's national team has conceded on counterattacks over the years, Cropper's aggressive style, could be a good fit for the USA.
Tim Howard has an aggressive style. That's kind of worked out.
That's true. Just ask Tom Dwyer.
Up next, Jonathan Fowler is scouting Tommy Redding. We know him from the U20 World Cup, right? 19-year-old American centre-back for Orlando City. Jonathan says Redding went the full 90 in Orlando's 1-0 win over New York Red Bulls. That's this past weekend, right? He found himself in a starting spot due to injury and is likely to stay there until Jose Aja returns. In that New York game, Redding led the team in interceptions and clearances, and Orlando coach Jason Kreis said that his potential is, quote, sky high. End quote. Jonathan adds that he was at the game and was continually impressed by Redding, noting that he worked well with US men's national team veteran Jonathan Spector and seemed very sure of himself.
Well done, Tommy Redding. Yeah, well done, Tommy. Well done, Jonathan. And well done, Ryan Kinahan, for sending us a report on Bruma.
Oh, I've already heard this guy. I literally heard this scouting report over breakfast this morning.
Well, there you go. So do you want to give any view behind the curtain there?
No.
Or you just want to make it sound like maybe you're reading the reports?
So Ryan is a friend of ours, and he's a member of the Thursday Morning Breakfast Club.
There we go.
We all meet up for breakfast.
He's scouting Bruma, the 22-year-old Portuguese winger for Galatasaray. The blazing fast youngster has finally stayed healthy this season, which has led to a series of different rumors, including 1, Galatasaray will re-sign him, and he is happy there. Number 2, Bruma wants a move to a big club, and Galatasaray are keen to cash in. So the expected transfer fee will be, says Ryan, insert any number between 5 and 40 million pounds.
£5 to 40 million pounds?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. His most likely suitor is clearly Tottenham, or Chelsea, or Arsenal, or Manchester United, or, it seems...
there's another one, right?
Wolverhampton. Yeah. Ryan says they're totally planning a bid because... Duh.
Because he's Portuguese? And I guess Wolves only bid for Portuguese players.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I'm really excited if
love to get used to up other people's bids.
Yeah, I guess I'm also really excited for Wolves to be used as leverage for a bigger team to get more money. Or for Bruma to get more money from a bigger team.
It doesn't have to be a bigger team. Man United are used for that all the time.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, final scouting report comes from Richie Garcia. Richie Garcia is scouting Emerson Hyndman, the 21-year-old American midfielder for Rangers, on loan from Bournemouth, and the future of the US men's national team. Richie says, in his third game under new manager Pedro Cachina, Emerson Hyndman once again was substituted in the 53rd minute, leading Richie to wonder if Cachina doesn't rate Hyndman as highly as the 2 previous Rangers managers did. Richie says the situation concerns him because it reminds him of Clint Dempsey's early years at Fulham, in which Dempsey struggled for playing time. Even a Dempsey quote from that time period sounds eerily accurate. You ready, Taylor? Mm-hmm. Quote, the coach that's here now is not the coach that brought me in, and I've had 3 coaches in a year and a half. So it's been difficult when each comes along, just trying to prove to them that I deserve to be on the field. End quote. Richie concludes that if things do go south, Hyndman still has options, including at Nottingham Forest, where former Gers boss Mark Warburton is now in charge.
There we are.
But he's starting, right? Mm-hmm. So just being subbed off, not so bad for a 21-year-old.
I think it's that, and Richie gave a much more in-depth report on what actually happened in that game. I think it's that sort of whenever things need to be changed, whenever the attack needs to be freshened up, it seems like it's Hyndman who's being asked to make way in favor of other players. So maybe there's some fear that eventually you start looking at that and think, well, if they're the ones who are coming in and making things change, some other ones are continuing to not perform that well, but still, maybe there comes a moment when you're like, well, maybe I'll just start that guy and send Emerson Hyndman to the bench.
The thing that gives me hope with the Dempsey comparison is I remember this happening to Dempsey. Mm-hmm. Every time there's a new coach, he would be get bumped and he'd have to fight his way back in the team. Yep. But he did it every single time.
He did. I would say, though, that at that point, I think... Dempsey was, 25 or 26, I think he was. I think that's when that quote came about, is when he was 25. So, Emerson Hyndman, 21, less experience in England, has also had that situation where he's kind of been knocked around from club to club. Mm-hmm. Fulham didn't give him many minutes because Hyndman was there. Obviously, no minutes at Bournemouth. Now at Rangers, where it's kind of been up and down in terms of managers coming in and managers leaving. So I can see why there's a little bit of concern there, although I do back the future-ish of the men's national team to find a way to make it work.
Oh, any updates on those Celtic rumours? I'd be interested in seeing that happen still, maybe.
Other than Richie says that we covered them, so that was good enough, I guess.
That means no updates.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to start a new rumour. Bruma and Emerson Hyndman to Wolves this summer.
I'd be all right with that.
Wolves would be a good move for Emerson Hyndman, and I would be real, real happy about it.
Would they be? Where are you guys now? 15, 16?
In the Championship, right? If he could start in the Championship for Wolves, isn't that better than being on the bench for Bournemouth?
I don't know. He is in a Premier League right now, so Premier League Championship. I'm just saying, one is better than the other.
No, I'm not.
Based solely on terminology.
Don't ruin my good mood. Don't ruin my good mood. I'd like to see it.
I'm pretty sure that... I don't know. Honest question. Based on what we know about Rangers, where they are on the SPL right now, if they played Wolverhampton, do you back Wolves to get the win?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to probably hear about that, but I honestly think the standard of the Scottish Premier League versus the standard of the Championship, I think, especially this Rangers team that is many, many, many points behind Celtic.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think Celtic v Wolves is a very different proposition where Wolves lose quite badly.
All right. Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Celtic are a Champions League team this season.
That's a very good point.
A championship team this season. All right, if you would like to support the Total Soccer Show, go to totalsoccershow.com/subscribe. If you subscribe for $5 a month, you will be in the Scouting Network and we will find you a young player to scout. If you go $10 a month, we guarantee to answer a question on our listener question specials once a month at least.
Indeed.
All right, we are going to be off for the weekend. We're going to take it easy a little bit. And we'll have some great content for you next week. I'm going to be in New York. I think I'm going to have a show featuring some some people from Opta. I'll get a look behind the scenes at Opta, see what's going on there.
Lovely.
We're going to talk Champions League. We're going to review those second legs of both of those games, and lots of other content coming at you later next week. A reminder, today's episode was sponsored by Fucci. The discount code again is TSS2017. And final reminder, you have until end of day Friday. That means 11:59 and 59 seconds p.m. Eastern Time to take advantage of our Howler Magazine promo. It is 20% off Howler Magazine, the biggest discount they've ever offered or maybe ever will offer. You go to shop.howlermagazine.com, use the code TSS, you'll get 20% off a year's subscription. Okay, final reminder, this deal is gone after Friday. You cannot get it back. All right, Tyler Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Sorry, I rambled on for a bit there. Listeners, thank you.
You're the commercial
arm
of the Total Soccer Show, and I'm fine with it.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week.